The world took a sharp turn in the 70s, and not just on the fashion scene. The social revolution of the 60s continued to grow, and women continued to flood into the workforce, securing more economic and social power. But in the midst of bell-bottoms and polyester, the seeds of conflict were being sown. Decades of full employment and steadily increasing power for workers were coming to a screeching halt. Global instability, spiraling oil prices, government debt and inflation. Stan Little retired as our founding national president in 1975. Thankfully, we had Grace Hartman to take up the mantle. Hartman had worked as a clerk typist in the mid-50s. Her outrage at the treatment of women workers sparked a 30-year career as a labor activist. When Hartman was elected CUPE national president, she made history as the first woman to lead a North American trade union.
Dealing with workers, I think I'm low-keyed, but if I have to be tough dealing with management, I can be tough.
Alongside Hartman was her successor as Secretary-Treasurer, Keely Cummings, a pillar of our movement. They had to hit the ground running. Inflation was soaring, and Liberal Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau took aggressive and regressive measures. After campaigning against wage controls, he flip-flopped. And in September 1975, Trudeau brought in sweeping wage controls. As inflation devalued paychecks, public employees started to fall behind. Trudeau's plan not only took away the right to free collective bargaining, but also stripped the ability to negotiate higher wages to keep up. Public employees were struggling to make ends meet with inflation, and now they were being punished further. CUPE's swift response got the government's attention. When the federal labor minister tried to defend his government's policies to the 1975 CUPE convention, he flopped badly. CUPE kept up the pressure, mobilizing members in every corner of the country in the biggest campaign to date. On the one-year anniversary of wage controls, 100,000 CUPE members joined 1 million other Canadians in a one-day general strike. The federal government was beaten. They lifted wage controls in 1978. Our union was becoming a seasoned political force, working closely with sisters and brothers in the labor movement and its partners in the NDP. The fight for workers' rights also continued at the bargaining table, with major gains through sharp, focused negotiations, and when necessary, job action. In BC, courageous women at the Sandringham nursing home walked picket lines for 3 years before winning the right to join CUPE. In Digby, Nova Scotia, bus drivers went on strike for 3.5 years for wage parity. And across Ontario, 14,000 hospital workers joined an illegal strike. They defied a back-to-work order. Members were charged and handed fines. Grace Hartman was sentenced to 45 days in jail. Ontario President Lucy Nicholson and Representative Ray Arsenault each got 15 days. Sending Canadian union leaders to prison sent a wave of outrage across Canada and earned international attention. On the heels of the strike, CUPE hospital workers created the Ontario Council of Hospital Unions. In the face of an attack, members came out more united. Thanks to targeted and ambitious organizing campaigns, CUPE kept growing and getting stronger. Organizing government workers in Manitoba and unionizing our first French private TV station, CFTM in Montreal. And in 1975, employees of Ontario's Workers' Compensation Board finally won a 12-year fight to join CUPE. CUPE has always understood that the fight for the rights of our members is a fight for all workers. Our union became increasingly involved in international solidarity movements. And at home, it continued negotiating away discriminatory collective agreements. In standing up for women like Yvonne Henry, a Toronto hospital worker who was fired after asking for a shift change to pick up her daughter. By the mid-70s, it was clear that gender equality meant taking on the fight for better childcare. CUPE marked International Women's Year in 1975 with a major program attacking sex discrimination, not only in the workplace, but in its own ranks. In 1981, the year of the disabled, CUPE took up the challenge to ensure more opportunities and fewer barriers to the workforce. CUPE members came out of the 70s tested, but stronger than ever. In some ways, it was the perfect preparation for the decade to come.